So wait, you guys are complaining that I'm early? You know, I've been awake since 11:30, right? It's my bedtime. Good morning, Brandon. Joel, still out in Phoenix. Who was first today on YouTube? Was it Brandon? It was Brandon. Long-time listener, first-time caller. All right. Good morning, everyone. Oh, yeah, let's get right to it. Yeah, the countdown to winter. 81 days, 81 days, 81 days. You know what? I don't know if I really can show this anymore. I think we need to first get the fall, right? And I'm not saying that to pick on my own self, as I usually do on these situations. I think we just need to get some cooler weather first, and then I think we'll be a little more excited about this countdown. I think right now I'm probably the only one that's excited about the countdown to winter. I know that's not true. I know it's not true. I know some of you in here in the chat. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Yeah, I'm on a different shift today, so I thought, why not talk to you guys? Although I was live on TikTok at what time was that? 2 o'clock this morning, something like that. I talked to a few of you, but not many of you are awake. A few of you were, and we got to look at some of the weather models together. So, you know, hey, I like to shake it up every once in a while. You never know when I'm going to be live, especially on other platforms. But it's always fun, especially when you get into active weather, to do that more. Good morning to Wyatt. How you doing, my friend? Hello. What'd you say, Ellen? New same season. Who dis? Love it. Absolutely love it. Good morning to ZK. Saying hello to all the YouTubers out there. Absolutely. Absolutely. Who else we got on here? We got Graham's on here. Graham, you're going camping? Ooh, October 12th, you're going camping. Well, okay. I'll leave it at that for now, Graham. I'll come back around to it. Don't be mad at me. Don't be mad at me. I'll explain. I probably was a little too dramatic with that response, but it was a very honest one, to be honest, as we'll soon find out in the long term. All right, so several things to cover here today. Oh, by the way, I'm Brian Goode. Nice to meet you. I don't know if you've met before, but welcome to the blog. It's where we have a chance to go over, especially long term. I love to talk about long term because, well, the short term is really what a lot of us plan for, right? Longer term is fascinating because it really is helpful to see the storyline that evolves. And once you figure out how things are evolving in the longer term, it does make it easier, honestly, in the shorter term. Once you figure out what's happening in a bigger picture. And I don't know, it's because I'm a left-hander. I'm a southpaw. But southpaws tend to be a little more visual on our thinking process. Notice people with right hands tend to be more analytical, more into the finer details. People with left hands tend to be more broad, scope and think and visual. I may be wrong, but that's my experience in talking to both sides of that, and it seems to be the case. I'm really bad about seeing sometimes the finer details on things. Like if there's one little pixel off on a graphic somewhere, I can't see that very well. But I can see the entire globe and see everything animate in my head and tell a story. It's very easy for me to do that. But I think that's what makes everyone unique, is when you put everyone together, and it makes a great meteorology team. And I think we have a mix of all that on our team here at Wave, which is really cool. And you may sense that at times on how we're all a little different on how we approach some of the broader scope ideas all the way to the very tiniest ones that we see. If that makes sense. I may not, but that's how I view it on the weather side. But I'm fascinated on long term because of that. I love to visualize how everything is moving, because the atmosphere is just like a river, and when it moves around like that, it really tells the story on it. One thing that I wanted to do before I moved on, because I'm trying to stall for my own self, it is October 1st. Happy October, everybody. Sorry I didn't get you a gift, but it's time to look back at a different time period, and that would be, of course, September, if it'll pop up. There it goes. Okay, September. Ended up being obviously an above average month. We had, let's see how many days we have in the 90s. 3, 4, 5, it's like 5 days we had in the 90s. We stopped with the 90s right on the 20th, which last year was the 21st of September. We stopped with the 90s. This year, as it stands now, the 20th will be our last day. I know we've been cutting it close. We've been cutting it close, right? We got, a 90 or 88 already out of this pattern for this week. But I think we'll be okay. I don't think we're going to see anything major on getting into higher levels, just because of what I've been saying every day now. I won't repeat it in detail because you guys are tired of hearing it, but the lower sun angle, it's got a limit to it. But anyway, but as far as rainfall goes, that was the big story. It didn't rain for a long period of time, but when it did rain, it rained really hard, right? Especially toward that tropical influence. That was actually a tropical wave that came in to give us the 2 to 3 inches of rain. Some of you up to 7 inches, if you remember that, in Trimble County. So that was a tremendous amount of water that was thrown our way. So that was a bit of an anomaly. But typically, to get out of a drought this time of the year, it usually is a fading tropical system that allows that to happen. It's rarely just a cold front that comes in with showers and storms. You can really think and probably count on not only just two hands, but one hand, how many severe weather events we've ever had to face in September and October. There's not many. All right. It's just very unusual. So typically, though, to bust a drought for this time of the year, that's where the tropics come into play. And they're the most active right now, typically, as well. I mean, that certainly has been the case, right? For the Atlantic starting to ramp up with a couple of systems, and I don't think it's done by any stretch. So we're not out of the woods yet on still getting a tropical system that can bust the drought kind of setup even into October. In fact, we typically see the true battle of the seasons in October, where you get the tropics involved and you get Arctic fronts that for the first time of the season start to show up across Canada. And the interaction of both of those can get really wild. And I feel like this happens usually the last 10 days of the month features something of that sort, a true battle that takes place. Sometimes we end up on the stormier side, and sometimes we've ended up on the colder side. And that's certainly what happened in 1993 when we got nearly 2.5 inches of snow the day before Halloween. We've had a few traces of snow since I've been here at Wave. I think 3 times since I've been here, we've had traces of snowfall around Halloween. So the tropics play a big role in this, though. I mean, Arctic fronts are step one. You got to get the cold air, obviously. But when you get the tropics involved in it, it really just enhances and shakes things up in a big way for the Northern Hemisphere. And that's what I'm looking for when I'm looking at the long-term signal. So we got September in the books. I'm looking at October. I'm really looking more at the tropics than anything, because I still think that's going to be the biggest driver on how we get our pattern to flip, not only to a fall pattern, but the one that can even feature some colder shots of air coming our way. So that's what I'm working on now, as well as the outlook for the entire winter. So I'm doing both at the same time. But the good news for you all is that while you're watching these daily blogs, I will be giving you updates on the October trends. Despite what Adam and Cameron try to get me to talk about, I will not be going into a lot of detail on the winter ones, though. But October, yeah, we'll be talking October all the time. So there you go. Is that fair? Let's see. Happy August. Stop at 60-second. I like that, David. That's good. I like that. Camera, wow, this is early. Yeah, that's early. What time do you guys get up anyway? Surely you're up by now, right? Hi, Margaret. Happy October to you. Halloween is soon. It is soon. And you know what? When you get into a warm spell, we saw this last year when we hit that 89. I think it was like the second week of October. It was before the 12th, I believe. We hit 89. And everyone was like, oh, no, this is not good. And then suddenly we ended up cold as we got to mid-October. I mean, it flipped rapidly. But it makes it really hard to get into the Halloween spirit unless you're a true diehard Halloween person. I am. But there's a lot of you out there based on my neighborhood. The decor went up. There's 2 houses in my neighborhood. The decor went up before Labor Day this year. Before Labor Day, the earliest I've ever seen it. Do whatever makes you happy. I'm not criticizing that. Make sure I'm clear on that. I love it, actually. But I think to get into the true Halloween spirit, you need the cold shot of air, right? You need to feel that wind blowing outside and that eeriness out there. When it's to a situation where you're debating on jumping in the pool or not, it's a little harder to get scared and into Halloween. So, but it usually happens fast. Halloween is one of those odd ones that can, it'll sneak up on you real quick. 4 a.m. Amy, you get up at 4 a.m. Sean got up at 5. Ryan got up at 7:30. Jacob every day at 4 a.m. Weathergy, I am retired. I get up when I want to. Hey, I am feeling that. I love it. ZK, you're up at 2. Where were you at this morning? Why aren't you on TikTok when I was live? Lois has her Christmas decorations out. I know. I saw Bumble and Rudolph and I always forgot his name. The dentist that helps remove the tooth from Bumble. I can't think of his name. I've watched Rudolph like 90 million times and I, at this point, can't remember. Anyway, somebody will type it. Okay, so there's a live look at Huber's. Yeah. Nice and pretty outside. We made it to 87 yesterday. So it was, when I say a smidge cooler, it was a smidge cooler at 1 degree. Thanks, Angela. Herbie's the name. Thank you. Now we'll never forget it. Okay, so we've seen temperatures top at 88. That may be the warmest this week. Although this weekend, there is the potential, especially when we get more of a west and southwest wind, we may get up to that 88, 89 territory. I'm not going to rule that out. It's still not a record, just to be clear, but it is still going to get warm before we see any change in our weather pattern. So at the moment, it's very, very quiet. You can't tell on the satellite image. You look carefully right there. You probably don't even see it. But these are high, thin cirrus clouds that are rotating in from Illinois heading our way. We'll see those later on this afternoon. They're so thin. Of course, the sun's not fully up high enough in the sky to really show them in Illinois. But we could get a hazy-looking sky with some cirrus clouds today, and if they stick around, a really nice sunset. Meanwhile, the tropics. All right, we got the twinsies. Here we go with Imelda and Humberto, which are doing the Fujiwara effect, where they're trying to spin around each other, and sometimes they can absorb one another. It's interesting that Humberto was the leader, right? It was the strongest one, up to Cat 5, while Imelda was struggling. Humberto is now becoming basically a cold front. Imelda is yanking everything out of the system to where there's not much left. Let me show you a different view of that. Here's looking at the infrared satellite. I mean, you can see the eye showing up on Imelda, and notice, yes, moving away from the U.S. mainland. So that's good. But if you were to connect it, here's the circulation of Humberto, and there's the outflows, and it really just kind of connects together like like a backwards letter S across the Atlantic, and it will keep feeding. And now Imelda's hungry, so it'll keep pulling in around that little curve. It'll just keep taking all the energy out of Humberto. The weather's there's not much of a circular look to it at all. It'll become just a front, basically just a straight line in the middle of the Atlantic. And Imelda will become the main circulation that will carry all the way over into United Kingdom. So a pretty wild setup. You don't see this too often. It happens once every couple of years, few years, maybe something like that. And many times when it happens, we don't talk about it because it's not on this side of the globe. But it's something that's been around for a long time since we've been tracking it, since satellites have been up in the 60s. We've been tracking that. All right, but Imelda, the stats on it, Cat 1, moving at 21 miles per hour. That's a pretty good clip now to the east, up to 90 miles per hour. But here's the bad news, the track. Yes, it's heading out to sea and eventually heading to the northeast areas of the Atlantic. But there is one area that is a problem. Do you guys see it? That is showing up. I didn't zoom in, but you probably do see it. So you can find me on TikTok, Be Good Weather, Be Good WX. And it was really catchy, wasn't it? Really catchy name. Tim quoting Herbie there. Thank you. Thank you. Everybody knows it's Herbie. Okay, good. See that, or everyone Googled all at the last second. Brad, you got it. Bermuda. Bermuda is the problem. And it's going to be a Cat 2. This will be Wednesday, so in about 24 hours. Because, again, it's moving at 21 miles per hour. It's not going to take that long to get there. But it could be a near direct hit with a Cat 2 potential. This will be the first time, really, other than parts of Hispaniola, that we've seen a landfall of a hurricane this season. A lot of them have been kind of moving around all over the place, but direct hits have been a little tough. I'm not complaining. That's what makes this season stand out, I think. We've had so many strong and powerful hurricanes, but not as much of a damaging impact on land areas. But Bermuda, unfortunately, will likely fall into that gap there. At least it's moving fast, so I'm hoping for Bermuda's sake. It's not a long duration event. It doesn't look like it will be. Only a few hours of the really intense stuff, and then it's out of there. But still, we'll keep you updated. I'm sure we'll have some live feeds from there as the next 24 hours evolve. Okay, back here at home. Don't forget about Imelda's setup there, because I think it's important to look. This is Futurecast, and I zoomed it ahead all the way to Friday. So here's the circulation. Can't even see Umberto. It's already somewhere over there, other side of the spin. But look what happened to the moisture plume on the southern side of Imelda. It stretches all the way down into the Caribbean, in the Bahamas, and across Florida, and even the Gulf. Now, this is an interesting signal, and it is a concerning one when it comes to future development. This is a boundary that is over very warm water that has been relatively untouched. So while the Atlantic has been firing up as of late, now we have to watch this zone carefully. Really, for the rest of October, this is going to be a hotbed for tropical development. This is the thorn that is in my side right now in trying to complete a full picture of October's outlook. The winter is actually a little easier to look at than what October is, because this right here is the wild card. This is the catalyst in the whole outlook as we evolve into even mid-October. If something can develop in this area, and if we do not have a front, I mean, there are several fronts. There's at least 3 that I've been able to track that will attempt to drop out of Canada. They may not all make it down this way. They will try their best, though. But if they don't make it, or we're in an in-between time period where one moves in and there's a gap before the next one arrives, then the tropics could see an opportunity to give them personality, opportunity to then form something and then move right into the southeast corner of the United States. Once that happens, things get really wild, because that means we're not done with the warm surges of air. It would also mean heavier rain could come into play. Yes, some severe weather, but once it happens, it really will kick in a yin-yang effect that I call it, which is similar to the Fujiwara type setup, but dumbbell effect, I call that a lot, where it could cause an opposite reaction, and that would allow for our first really cold shot of air to dive in. All that potentially is laid out on the table, but I just picking out a time period has been a challenge. I've looked over so much stuff since 2 o'clock this morning, trying to get a signal that I can lock onto, and it's tough. And here's the thing, anything that does arrive that's on the colder side, relatively speaking, is going to be transient. There's no locking in that I see. I think it'll move in, it will likely move on out, we warm back up, and then another one drops. Again, to be typical for October. So this is not anything I'm saying is like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. This is what I would expect to look at on weather charts for October. This is something I've seen almost every year. It's always just when. That always varies every year. The time period fluctuates. I've seen it in early October. I've seen it as late as Halloween. It's just all over the place. This year, based on what I've seen so far, I think the time period of the, and Graham, this is where it gets to your comment, roughly the 13th. Wait a minute. Is the 13th on a Friday this year? It's not, is it? I don't think it is. No, it's a Monday. Well, that's boring. Okay. Sorry, I thought we were like really going to have something exciting here for October. Anyway, so from roughly the 13th, Monday the 13th, all the way through about the 20th or 21st, that's when I think we'll see the first true battle of these two ideas come into play. Before that happens, we can get rain for sure. We can get cooler weather, but as far as the true battle, or as I like to call them, season changers, I think it's really going to take until that time period of October. So we got some time. We got some time here. So it's only the first day. So that means we got a couple of weeks of me talking about it. You're going to get really bored and tired of me talking about it. But that's kind of how all is looking there on that trend. So, but let's back up just for a moment. How do we get into that 14-day window? What happens first? We know about the warmth this weekend coming our way, right? We get into Saturday and Sunday. Now, once we get into Sunday and into Monday, we start to see a cold front moving in through the Midwest. The reaction automatically for the Gulf is then to try to take this tail of moisture from Amilda and tug on it, begin to pull it right across Mississippi into areas around Memphis, and then surge it then northeast ahead of where the front is, because the front's moving at the same time that the moisture is coming in out of the Gulf. Both are in tandem, same exact time period. Now, if they are off, either one of them on their motion and getting to their destination in our region, that will change our outlook for next week. And I'm seeing hints of that. One of the hints that I think is interesting is that this front is not overly strong. The flow coming in from the Gulf is. And it ends up taking to where this front, while the Euro shows some showers and maybe some thunderstorms, developing as we into Monday night into Tuesday, and as the front bearing down on us, you look at just Futurecast alone, it's just one model and one model run, but it's got a decent outlook, right? For rain in the Ohio Valley, some thunderstorms. I know you're going to ask about severe weather. It's always possible when you get warm air, meeting with cold air, right? But other than that, I don't see a signal in severe. This looks like heavy tropical downpours, very similar to what we had a couple of weeks ago. But the Euro wants to take the front, and right there, as you look on your screen, it then wants to push it through. There are some pieces of data, though, that are not as aggressive with this trough, and the front looks more like this. And the rain bands will be ahead of it on the eastern side and then trying to redevelop on the western side. But the front never comes through. That would prolong the 80s a little longer, not mid 80s so much, probably lower 80s, but it would hold off on the cooling effect because we warm back up. And then yet another front says, my turn, I'm going to drop in now. So it begins to arrive around the 11th through the 13th and head southbound. But will it be strong enough to battle all the heat and moisture that is gathering here into the Western Atlantic and the Caribbean? If we didn't have this tropical look here, these cold fronts would likely be very dominant, and we would have several shots of colder air, likely already, by the way, but we would have several throughout the month of October, and would actually end up with an early frost of that kind of a setup. But with this look, a very tropical look here into the Gulf and the Western Atlantic, that's giving me a lot of pause on how this is going to evolve, because these fronts, all of this has to all time out just right, and we don't know which one's going to be stronger yet. But I'm telling you, once they do meet up, things get a little wilder. We will finally get rain, but we also will get our first shots of colder weather. And you're thinking, what do you mean by colder? I would say, a couple of days or so with 60, 65 for a high, and maybe a lot of 40s at night, maybe some upper 30s, kind of a setup. That's what I'm talking about for mid-October. That is the trend I'm seeing now, which is, hey, compared to where we're at now, that is a stark difference. And that, no doubt, will get you ready for Halloween. Does that make sense? Everyone good? Everyone good? What'd you say, Aaron? I'll take a nice October and then cold and snowflakes and work your match. Yeah, I'll work on it. I'm all about an early frost. Yeah, the ragweed, that's what it's going to take. Rain, or you're going to have to get a frost. It's going to be a little tough. But again, any cool shots or cold shots of air we get in October will be likely transient. So they only have about 48 hours, maybe up to 3 days. We'll see that they can stick around, and then we'll moderate. But each time we try to moderate or warm back up again, it will be less impressive. So if we get down to the 60s, our warm up after that point would be like a 70 or a 72, not 85 or 88. That would be done. That would be done. So there's a step down process, but you got to have that one big drop first, and then you just don't really recover. You can stay warm, but you don't recover to summer levels or anything like that. I hope that all makes sense. That's how things looking to me today after the 20 million models I've looked at today. And the trends and the storyline, that is how it's shaping up. So the point of all that ramble is that our confidence is not overly high on this rain on Tuesday yet, because I don't know how far south the front has to get close enough to cause a reaction for Imelda's tail to get pulled into the Ohio Valley. If the front is too slow, then it's going to be hard to connect the two, and that will just prolong the 80s a little bit longer. But if they can connect solidly, which is right now, there's good support for that. It's decent. Then I think we'll get a rain event out of it. We'll get some 70s out of it, but it will not be the front that will give us the true season change that we're likely craving. It will be the second one after that, which will be mid-October. All right. Would you say thanks to Umberto and Imelda for the entire extra bit of summer? They are the reason, to be honest. Their heat engines, the way they are, they pump up that ridge on the eastern seaboard, and it throws off every outlook. It's been a while to watch the Euro struggle with this even in its trends. It was trying to, at this point for this week, it was trying to push us down to 63 for a high several times. It was doing this in September, trying to get us down to the 60s for this week. And then I just slowly watched it warm and warm and warm, and then jumped into the 80s as soon as they started to form. And there was no doubt. The tropics lit up, we warm up. So the tropics are always a catalyst in any long-term forecast. They're really tough. But they're exciting, and they're fascinating. We always learn a lot. You know, you can go to school a million times over to be a meteorologist, but when you see these events unfold, you always learn something. And I think that's important. You should always grow and learn something, right? You shouldn't just think that whatever you learned in school, that's the way it always is, especially when it comes to Earth and meteorology. That's just not how it works. You've always got to be ready to change. Shonda, he will be here on Saturday. Yes, I'm here Saturday morning too. You guys get a lot of me this week. Any questions I can ask? Everyone good? All right. See, I spent a lot of time rambling for you all today. I think when I get sleepier or have a lack of sleep, I think I talk more. I think I ramble more too. But hey, at least I got my points out that I needed to. We'll be back tomorrow, probably the same time as normal for the blog tomorrow, for the 2nd of October. All right, guys, you're awesome. I'll leave it at that. This is a pretty easygoing forecast. Just have fun, enjoy these warm days. We're gonna, even as snow lovers, you're probably gonna miss these 80-degree days on those really, really cold days, and that wind chills 15, 20 below. I love snow, but I cannot stand cold. I hate cold. I don't like being cold. I don't like being hot, but I definitely don't like being cold. But I love snow. Trust me, it's a battle I face internally all the time. It's not easy. So, yeah, we'll miss some of these 80-degree days. So soak it up, enjoy it. Work on your Halloween decor, get all that out now and get it all nice and in place. That way you can enjoy some of it. Otherwise, if you wait until it gets chilly, you'll only have maybe 10 days of your Halloween decor up. Have a good one, guys. I'll see you later.